genocide. Sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one leaves countries. Laugh to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear, fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV. I'm your host for the next hour. It's the 15th of March, and it's windy and pretty cold out here. Or at least it's cold with the wind. But, you know, I'm pretty sure we're going to have snow in our yards here when April comes, which is pretty rare happening. But, you know, it looks pretty much like it's going to happen. Anyways, we were going to do a show tonight with Carl Fleury out of Lloydminster and Karen Draper out of Calgary. We decided to put that over till Sunday so we can bring, we're going to line up some more guests that are going to be speakers and whatnot. At the conference, which is The Hour Is Now, I think is what it's called. And they're doing an awful lot of promotion work, and they've got some pretty serious people coming in to Calgary for this conference. So it's going to be interesting, because the whole idea is to encourage other people to do similar actions. And this isn't a protest. It's a knowledge-based kind of thing to spread some knowledge to people, and hopefully they get enough people that this Antifa nonsense and the rest of these hard left Soros UN idiots don't see where they're going to have any impact on the situation. So hopefully they get a big enough crowd. Like you see, 5,000-10,000 people there. Anyway, so that's off for tonight, and I mentioned this. I mentioned this a while back, not that long ago, but the Kingston, the city of Kingston golf course, okay, is going bye-bye by the sound of it. Now, what's not sustainable? Golf courses. And so we have another one here, which is just another city-owned golf course that they're going to work to say bye-bye to. And they always do this, they're all liars. This is what kills me. This one here says, tempers flare at Vancouver Council debate over Langrara golf course. Mayor George Robertson wants to explore whether the lands could be turned into a public park. Now they're talking about the same thing in Kingston. That's what you got to understand. Everything is templated. Everything that goes down in your community is going to go down in all the other communities. This isn't by accident what's going on. Now, the discussion was originally supposed to be about upgrading the drainage system at the golf course in Vancouver. That was the original purpose of the discussion on the golf course, was to upgrade the drainage system. So the councillors come in and other people come in, and they're going to talk about updating the drainage system. Wound up turning into a much bigger debate Wednesday evening at City Hall. Mayor Robertson steered the conversation, okay, that damn conversation, that's that Marxist way of moving things, steered the conversation into whether some of the lands located near Cambie Street and 49th Avenue could be turned into a public park, track and field facility, or something else altogether. We want to pursue the conversation. Okay? We want to pursue the conversation. I hate that word. With the community, a conversation with the community. In other words, we're going to make some suggestions, which is hypnotism. And we're going to try to hypnotize these idiots in Vancouver that they don't need this golf course, which is, let's see, I forget how many, 120 acres in the city. So he lies coming out, and they're all liars, to going to update the drainage, but then all of a sudden, we want to pursue the conversation with the community and with the park board to see what our options are, says the mayor. We don't want to race headlong into spending $3 million on golf course drainage. The NPA councillor, George Affleck, says he was left blindsided by the sudden change in the conversation. This is a classic bait and switch, he said. This is taking it into a report that was on one thing and completely transforming it into something else without any public input. What's next? Council supported Robertson's motion to enter into the discussions with city staff and the park board about other possible uses for the golf course lands, but all 4 NPA members on council voted against it. The motion was thrown onto the floor out of nowhere with no chance for the public to provide us any feedback, Affleck said. This is undemocratic. No kidding. Robertson says he wants to hear from the community about what it would like the city to do with the 120 acres of land. Well, I don't know. It's been a golf course since 1926. I think a golf course is a good idea. But you see, with all this high-density housing in the cities and that now, okay, any green space, and I believe they mentioned golf courses in the 1967 Habitat 1, which was the Conference on Human Settlements in Vancouver. I do believe that they mentioned about golf courses not being sustainable. As is your private vehicle not sustainable. That's why they're building all the light rail transit systems. I mean, none of this stuff's new. It's been on the block for a long time, but now they're just bringing it in. So I know we've had park board people and many people in the community talking about track and field and an international competition facility that would be fantastic, he said. Now earlier you said, spending, what was it, $6 million or whatever, or $3 million on golf course drainage, that's a lot of money, but now at the same time he's talking about building community track and field, international competition facilities. That would be fantastic. Well, you ain't going to do any of that for $3 million. He said, we've had cricket and kabaddi people saying, why do we have no facilities in South Vancouver that the community can use? This is all excuses. The golf course was built in 26. It was the oldest public golf course in the province. And now this is the other thing here about your city golf courses. The golf course is the highest gross revenue producer in the park board's commercial operations portfolio, with an annual total of $10 million in 2017, a staff report states. The golf course's gross revenues accounted for 25% of the park board total. So it's a real revenue generator for the city, but Agenda 21, 2030, golf courses, I don't think so. So this is just, we talked about this, it was going on in Kingston a while back, and now we see the same thing going in South Vancouver. All the cities are putting in light rail transit at the same time. Everybody's doing their inclusiveness and their diversity crap, and their a gay pride parade starts in one place, and then all of a sudden it spreads across the country, and shutting down one golf course, and pretty soon all the city-owned golf courses are shut down. This is really quite disgusting. On the upside, microplastics are found in 93% of bottled water tested in a global study. Yum, yum. But then I don't drink, probably, if I drink 2 bottles of plastic water a year, that would be about it. Anyways, I want to talk about Doug Ford, if I can find a story on the Goomer. This is too ridiculous. Where the hell did that? What happened to Doug Ford here? Here, we'll try this over here. Different paper. God, I hate politicians. I really, really hate politicians. And worse than even hating politicians, I hate the general public for being so stupid. It's bordering on insanity. Now, Doug Ford did one stint on the Toronto Council. But now all of a sudden he's going to run Ontario, and he's going to make everything right. Not going to happen, folks. The best way you might just screw all the voting completely. Just screw it. Just take all the contenders from each of the party. The party leaders. This would be fun because we could really do some work on the deficit, which is almost twice that of California's deficit, even though California has 40 million people and we got about 14 million people. We managed to, our debt is heading very quickly to double that of California. But I think we could do more for ourselves, and maybe wake people up and at least have some fun. Instead of voting, why don't we have like the Rumble in the Jungle type of thing? Okay, you take all the leaders of all the parties in Ontario and you put them in a ring, and whoever's left standing is your premier. Because you get the same result anyways. You get a clown. You get an actor. And we could all bet on it. We make a lottery for it, and probably raise a lot of money to pay down the deficit. But hey, Doug Ford's got a different attitude here. So Doug Ford's pitch to Ontario voters will cut costs, cut the size of the government, but no layoffs. Now, you're going to cut costs, you're going to cut the size of the government, but nobody's going to get laid off. Geez, that sounds like that'll work, Doug. Keep it simple. Doug Ford says his pitch to Ontario voters will be 5 main points on things that affect their lives. Now, this is the same guy who, before, when he was just working to run as the leader of the Conservatives, said that he was going to follow the Patrick Brown platform. Now, he's not. So he's flip-flopping. And people are going, yeah, Doug's going to fix the province. I mean, you people are all crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Anyways, no glossy magazine with 147 promises like his predecessor. And the new leader of the Progressive Conservatives predicts his popularity will help the party nab 10 Toronto seats from the Liberals. Ford's platform would lower hospital wait times, cut hydro rates, reduce the size and cost of government. But he promises all that will be done through almost $6 billion to be identified efficiencies, not job losses. Let me be clear. No one is getting laid off. Well, you got to say that because they won't vote for you if you're going to lay them off. Let's see. As for a recent Forum research poll that found the PCs would win a majority, but almost half of those surveyed expressed disapproval of him as a leader. He questioned the pollster and the small sample size and said he's seen polls that are absolutely opposite. I am the only candidate out of anyone on both sides that attracts Liberal and NDP voters, and they know it. And therein lies another problem. Okay, you're a Conservative Party and you're attracting Liberal and NDP voters. Why? Well, because there's no difference. You know, that's why people say, you know, I don't vote anymore. You say, why not? What's the point? They're all the same. Doesn't matter who you vote for, the same crap keeps coming at us. So, you know, he's going to attract Liberal and NDP. But, you know, if I was the premier of this province, or if I was the leader of a party in this province going into the election, I would be doing things a whole lot different. Number one, because you got a 4-year run once you get control of the province, my goal would be to cut government employment by as close to 30% as possible. That's what I would be doing. Then I would take all of the money that we saved in the government and I would start building manufacturing here. And these people that we lay off from the government, they'll go to work wherever you put them because they need a job. I go back to building whatever it is, manufacturing appliances, whatever, shoes, I could care less. But the problem is all of the money spent in the government is a waste of money because government doesn't produce anything. And the size of our bureaucracy in this province is out to lunch. But they had to put them somewhere when they opened our borders and all of our manufacturing was sucked out of the province and sent to the east. We had all these people that didn't have a job. But they wanted to build the bureaucracy bigger, to enslave people, to pick their pockets, to bankrupt them. So all those people that lost their jobs in manufacturing, a great majority of them ended up working for government agencies and that. So if I was going to be the premier, I would take and I would try to cut government employment by as close to 30% as possible over 4 years, and then take that money and put it to use, rebuilding our manufacturing base. And you're just spending the same amount of money. At least now, when you spend the money, you're getting something for your money coming out the other end. Where when you're spending in the government, you get nothing for your money. Now, Ford, is talking about efficiencies. I've heard that word so many times. We're going to save all this money by efficiencies. I have never seen that work. It's always been basically a con game. But he promises that it will be done through almost $6 billion to be identified efficiencies, not job losses. Well, you're still paying all these clowns to push paper. So you didn't gain anything. But my understanding is that the service fee on the Ontario debt is $12 billion a year. So what do you do there, Doug? You're going to, through efficiency, save $6 billion, which means we're still going minimum $6 billion in the hole. But it's still going to cost us. You're still going to be $6 billion in the hole more, and you're still going to service a debt at $12 billion a year. So your accomplishment would be what? Less than zero. But then you're a politician. And unfortunately, the general public are so stupid. This is great. Ford's going to do this and do that. He ain't doing shit for you, folks. Okay? Not now, not ever. That's why I'd like to see all of the leaders of the parties just crawl into the ring. We'll make it like a demolition derby. And whoever's still awake at the end of it, whoever hasn't been knocked unconscious, I guess will be your leader. Saves a lot of campaigning time. It saves a lot of cost. Just put them in the ring. Because it doesn't really matter. Whichever one is still standing at the end is going to screw you over, just like the other ones laying on the mat passed out. Ain't no difference. Here's another one here. I love these things. Read more opinion. Chantal Hebert. Doug Ford's win shows that grassroots movements continue to shape Canadian politics. Horse's ass. UN grassroots NGOs continue to shape Canada's politics. Let's get your story straight there, Chantal. Let's see. Here's an opinion from Bob Hepburn. How should the media cover a hostile Doug Ford? Then this story goes on. I know some Liberals insiders, and they told me Kathleen Wynne was terrified that you'd win because you'd attract the 416 voters, and that they've held on to for years. I proved it out in Scarborough when I helped Raymond Cho win a by-election in the stunning upset in Scarborough Rouge River. We're going to win 9 to 10 seats in Toronto, and we're going to win in 905. These are area codes. PC vote. What do we got here? Blah, blah, blah. And this is a kicker, right? Because Christine Elliott got more votes than Doug Ford, but because of the way the districts are kicked up, Ford ends up with the win. Ontario Progressive Conservatives have given their vote of confidence to new leader Doug Ford, but his path to victory was complicated, given he lost both the popular vote and won in fewer ridings than his closest competitor, Christine Elliott. The PCs have a complex system that allows each member one vote, where they mark their first and second choices, and those votes determine the number of electoral points each candidate receives. Each riding is allotted 100 points. So in more populous ridings, candidates receive points based on percentage of votes they receive. If they earn 60% of the votes, they earn 60 points. In less populated ridings where fewer people than 100 vote, each vote counts as 1 point. For each ballot, the candidate with the lowest number of points is dropped and their second choices are put into the mix. The PC vote went to the third ballot, where Ford took 60 ridings and Elliott 64. Ford just happened to earn bigger margins in his fewer ridings, which gave him the win. The map showed the support for Elliott and Ford in all Ontario ridings, one mapped by points, the other by total votes. The darker the color, the more support for the candidate, while white indicates a riding where support is almost evenly split. So Elliott initially contested the results, but conceded Sunday night after meeting with Ford. It was her third unsuccessful run at the leadership. And she don't particularly like Ford. So you have a split party. Okay, the Conservative Party's split, but they're supposed to come together, even though they are split, to vote for their leader, who apparently more than half of those voted in the leadership vote, like Christine Elliott, better than Rob Ford. But Rob's going to get on his horse and he's going to fix everything. And but he won't mention, I don't think he will, he won't mention that the early sex ed program that he wants to scrap comes out of the UN. He won't mention the UN. I don't think he's going to talk about immigration. He hasn't so far that I'm aware of. He's just another butt boy for the Vatican and the UN. And so regardless of who gets in, we're on the same path as we would be with the Liberals. So nothing changes. Nothing changes at all. Now here's something I hadn't seen. In a surprise move, Wynne briefly prorogues the Ontario legislature before laying out government priorities in his throne speech on Monday. Premier Wynne's announcement to start a new session comes just days after the Progressive Conservative Party elected Doug Ford a leader. Experts say the move in the Liberals. The move is the Liberals trying to change the channel. And then we have this other dick here who wears a different colored head napkin every time I see him. Last time I seen his picture, he was wearing a yellow one. Now he's wearing a bright pink one, or pinkish. So the NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh, evades question on Sikh political violence. Now apparently he spoke, I think it was in California, in the wake of a video that shows Singh was with an activist who argues violence can help achieve Sikh independence. The NDP leader said questions of whether force can be justified are too complex to be answered in a simplistic manner. So he sidestepping questions about political violence, stating that the issue of whether force can be justified to defend Sikh people from oppression is too complex. He made the statement one day after new video surfaced from 2016 that showed him at a seminar on Sikh sovereignty where a panelist says violence can help achieve independence. The video taken in the United Kingdom shows a youth activist next to Singh discussing how violence can be a legitimate form of resistance. Thursday, whether he agrees with the notion, Singh did not denounce the use of political violence. He said the question strikes at the complexity of the situation in which a controversial armed leader killed in an infant's clash at the Sikh Golden Temple in '84. So we're mixing in now in our country politics into our nation from Islamic countries, the Sikhs, the Chinese, the Filipinos, the Afrikaners. We're bringing all of this to bear into our nation, which will eventually explode. So, you know, the thing that I can't say enough about is that, and we're going to discuss this on Sunday, I think, when we got, I don't know, I know Karen's going to be on, I know Carl's going to be on. They're the ones that are the prime movers, I think, in this conference is being set up for the 13th and 14th of April in Calgary. You know, you can have conferences and you can have protests and you can have rallies, but as long as those that you are protesting against, rallying against, hold power, you ain't going to change anything. So we need to get our hands on the power base, which means you're going to have to run in these damned elections. You know, it makes me want to puke, right? I mean, but the upside is, it's like Karen ran in Calgary election, municipal election for the school board. Now, she was a threat to them. You know, Facebook, CBC was calling out Karen. The other political candidates for the school board were calling Karen out. Facebook pulled her Facebook, her campaign Facebook, because they don't want her voice heard. Now, having run in that election, she sees how corrupt it is. But she also sees that there's an opportunity there. And she also sees it's not difficult to run in an election, especially at the municipal level. It's inexpensive. And once you start dealing with the other candidates, you find out that they're just really puppets. Okay, because it doesn't matter who's running, they're all going to be moving the same message. So when someone like Karen comes in to move a real message, all hell breaks loose. But, like I said many times before, you run 3-1. So if there had been 3 Karens running for that, for each of those seats at the school board, I forget how many seats are on the school board, call it 6. Okay, they would have had 18 people running, talking the same message as Karen was talking. You can't bury that message. Okay, you can't bury it. And now all of a sudden it's not a radical message, it's a mainstream message because so many people are putting the message out. And it's that simple. It's that simple to get control of the majority vote. But you see, what happens here in Canada and many other places is one person will run and they won't get in. And people go, oh, well, see, it didn't work. I mean, lethargic, lazy, uninspired people in this country is ridiculous. You know, they're always looking for an excuse not to step up to the plate. And they've been doing that for a very, very long time, and that has got to change, or we're going down the suey hole. And that's not what I want to see happening. Not at all. I'm just looking for something here to talk about. I've been having a lot of computer problems here lately. I've been getting updates, and I got a new. They updated my Skype, and I hate it. Absolutely hate it. They should ask you first, right? You think so? Didn't ask me. I just got a whole bunch of stuff fired at me, and Skype was so much better when it wasn't owned by Microsoft. It's almost like Bill Gates gave my Skype a vaccine or something, and now my Skype seems sick. Anyways, let me go here and see if there's anything that's going on. Oh, here's something else that really irritates me. There's a faction of people out in Alberta that are pushing for separation of Alberta. Now, there's this movie they're working on called Canada the Myth, or The Myth of Canada, whatever the hell it's called. In that movie, I saw a couple of videos that he did as a guest, and he's talking about Canada was never federated, and therefore the provinces are sovereign. Okay, and I've got to look into this a little bit deeper, because some of the stuff I'm hearing about this movie, some of the stuff I've heard Doug Forson, I got to get a hold of him. I got his phone number now, so I got to get a hold of him. I'd like to get him on the show. I'd like to discuss some of what he's up to here. Because pushing this idea that the provinces are sovereign, and now we have this Alberta movement wanting to separate from Canada and join the United States. Okay, the Quebec referendum was part of that, and that's all part of the UN agenda, is to break up the nations. Okay, so if you're part of this, let's separate Alberta from Canada, understand that either you know what you're up to and you're a player, or you don't know what's going on, you just think it sounds like a good idea. It's not a good idea. It's a stupid idea. But it's another piece of this rhetoric coming out of the UN and the tax-exempt foundations to destroy the nation state. That's their game plan. So we don't have to bomb Alberta out of Canada. We'll just get them to join the United States. It's all smoke and mirrors, all, bait and switch. It's all bull crap all the time. And it's getting a little difficult to stomach this stuff. Now, we got Jason Kenney out in Alberta that's everybody's so excited about. Well, Kenney's a player. Look him up. Okay? The man's a freaking globalist. And Rob Ford is, kind of hooked up, trying to ride the coattails of popularity that Jason Kenney is enjoying right now. But Jason Kenney is a player. So for Ford to jump on the coattails of Jason Kenney either means that Ford's stupid and he didn't do any research on Kenney, or he knows exactly what Kenney's up to, and he's just going to try and ride the coattail of the globalist agenda so he can have power. That's the whole stupid game. None of these people can be trusted, not a damn one of them. But we still have that right-left paradigm going on, which has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with. Oh, stupid frickin'.
We are unavailable to take your call. Please leave a message. Thank you for calling.
Oh, what is going on here? Oh, hell's breaking loose. What am I trying to do here? Trying to get a hold of Jason Kenney here. Now, I looked into this guy once before, and he's a player. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And, but you have the people in Alberta all excited because their premier, that crazy woman that wants to deny oil to British Columbia. You see, this is all again about the breaking up of the country, right? When you're supposed to be the premiers of the same country, and you're saying, well, if you don't let us do what we want to do, we're not going to accept your wine, and we're not going to give you any oil. It's like a bunch of little school children, fighting in the sandbox. This is not how you build a country. This is how you tear it apart, and that's the whole program going on right now. There's, I can't remember whether Kenney went to, I don't remember if he went to Bilderberg. I don't think he did. Let's see, what do we got here? Let's see, Kenney was appointed Parliamentary Secretary for the Prime Minister of Canada. On the 4th of January, he was sworn into the Privy Council, which makes him a player, and as Secretary of State for Multiculturalism. Well, that makes Kenney a player. Held the post of Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration and Multiculturalism from 2008 to 2013, when he became Minister of Employment and Social Development and Minister for Multiculturalism. He was named Minister of National Defense. Kenney was considered a potential party leader following the defeat of the Conservative government in 2015. In 2016, he announced his intention to run for the leadership of the Progressive Conservative Association of Alberta in that party's 2017 election leadership. Now, because he's in the Privy Council, right? When you get to the Privy Council, you swear an oath of secrecy for life to the Queen, which is basically the crown. And so he does as he's told for the rest of his life, period. So in no way can this man represent anybody in this country, because you can't be beholden to two masters. Let me see. Anyways, as this election thing gets going here, I'm going to try and tear these people down. Now, it says here that he was sworn in as Secretary of State of Multiculturalism and Canadian Identity and as Privy Councillor. In this capacity, Kenney was the Harper government representative to ethnic communities in Canada. In this role, Kenney made frequent appearances at ethnic community events across the country, hosted by groups as diverse as Koreans, Muslims, Chinese, Jews, Assyrians, South Asians, and Poles. The Toronto Star has noted some of the more frequently visited groups in the GTA, which also include the Caribbean community, Persians, Filipinos, and Vietnamese. I don't see anywhere he visited any European people. Let's see. In 2008, Kenney launched the Community Historical Recognition program, which has established $13.5 million in funding over 5 years for commemorative projects for use by ethno-cultural communities such as the Italian, Jewish, Indian, Chinese communities that have been targets of discriminatory Canadian immigration and wartime politics. Still bleeding from that. We're so sorry we offended you. Here, have some cash. So he became Minister of Citizenship and Immigration, and he launched Asian Heritage Month to better understand the rich diversity of the Asian community in Canada. Let me see. Can he speak in Jerusalem about the Canadian government funding of human rights organizations? Boom, 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 boom. So the guy is up to his ass in the global program here, but nobody reads anything. Nobody pays any attention to any of this stuff. You know, he was a minister on several fronts for the Harper government, and people go, oh, well, the Harper government was really good. No, it wasn't. It was Harper that said the G20 was a loss of Canadian sovereignty, and that some of you people didn't like it, but tough luck, it's a simple reality. So, Harper is not on your side. And then again, Harper's in the Privy Council. And Harper works for Denton, which is the largest international law firm on the planet, as does ex-Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. These are all players all the time. They may not be in politics, but they're still in politics. And so I want to, rip these guys a new one. I want people to understand who these people actually are. And, the higher up they get, the more dangerous they are, basically. Let's see here. Yeah, so they're running around. Oh, here's something. If I got time to do this, here's something you might find interesting. Why is there a problem loading the page? Come on, let's get this thing going here. Now, if I can get back to, oh, here we go. This is pretty interesting. We call ourselves European people, if they consider you to be white, they call you a Caucasian. That's not quite correct. This is why I love etymology so much. And I wish everybody would download it as a caution. It's free. You plug a word in and it brings up the meaning and gives you other associated words and whatnot. And so Caucasian is... it wasn't meaning one of white race until 1830. German anthropologist Frederick Blumenbach, who in his pioneering treatise on anthropology distinguished mankind into 5 races: Mongolian, Ethiopian, Malay, Native American, and Caucasian, right? They say, what race are you when you fill forms? I remember this when I was young. Oh, I'm Caucasian, right? Okay. But So he came up with these 5 races, but in the latter group, he included nearly all Europeans, except Lapps and Finns, Armenians, Persians, Hindus, as well as Arabs and Jews. His attempt at division was based on physical similarities in skulls. So, you know, when you say you're Caucasian, you can be most any European, you can be Armenian, you can be Hindu, you can be a Jew and an Arab. Never taught me this in school. Now, the word has long since been abandoned as a historical anthropological term. Caucasian has. Now, you're supposed to compare Aryan, right? The Aryan race. And this just takes you down a road that most people ain't never been down. You know, people, I'm Caucasian. Oh, you're a white man. Yeah. Well, you could be Arab. You could be a Jew. You could be a Hindu. You could be a Persian. You could be an Armenian. Because that's all lumped into Caucasian. But we never got told that. Now, over on the sidebar here, I see the word cattle. Now, what is cattle? Well, property. Cattle is property of any kind, including money, including land, including income. And you just thought it was that thing walking around in the field. From medieval Latin, property, stock. Noun use of neuter, Latin, yada, yada, yada. Principal, chief, literally of the head. And from the root kaput, meaning head. Now, you are property. This is what people don't want to believe. You are cattle. You're chattel. You are property of the corporation known as Canada, United States, Britain, wherever the hell you live. You are the cattle. You are the wealth. You are what the company borrows money against. You are what's responsible for repaying the money. Okay, you're cattle. By definition, you're cattle. In later Middle English, especially movable property, livestock, including horses, sheep, asses, etc. But you always got to go back to the origin of the word, okay? Because they keep switching out the meanings of the word to deceive you with. So, kaput. Okay, so let me go back here a second. So cattle, okay, literally of the head, the root kaput. So kaput, when you look at kaput, in all forms or part of achieve, behead, biceps, and a whole bunch of words here. Now, capital. I'm trying to remember how I got where I got to here, because one of these words It's either this one or that one. But there's a whole list of words here. It's the only way you're going to understand what the hell they're talking about. Now, I don't think, let's see. I did run across in this word capital, also see cattle, which is capital. But I can't find what I'm looking for right now. You gotta excuse me a day. I only had like 2 hours sleep last night. I'm freaking done. Well, maybe it's here. Nope. Let's go here. Damn. Oh, here we are. Here it is here. So you're cattle, and then they capitalize you, right? So capitalize, verb, write or print in capital letters. Okay, that's what all your bills and things you have to sign show up in all cap letters. This is what they created when your mother registered you to the company. Okay, so write or print in capital letters, 1764, meaning to convert assets to capital, is recorded from 1868. And this is exactly what happened to you. We are subjects, which means we're cattle, we're property. We're property of the state. And you say, well, I'm a subject, I'm a citizen. Well, look it up. Citizen means the exact same damn thing as subject. Okay? So you are property of the company. You weren't born that way, but once your mother signed you over to get those benefits, and then they capitalize your name, which means they convert the assets of your parents, which was you, the children, into capital. And that's where that all cap name fits in. And we have to change all of this stuff out, or we're just going to keep going downhill until they basically wipe us out. There's a war. Anyways, I hear music. So Sunday, we're going to have, we may have pretty... Anyways, take care.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries. Lie to your face.